Hi, welcome to this week's video lesson. Today we're going to talk about how to write your story, your autobiography, by the use of what I call spiritual markers. There are two reasons why you're going to do this. First reason is this exercise will help you. You know, a lot of times we have a difficulty understanding why we do what we do. Sometimes we have strongholds. That's going to be talked about in our retreat. That I'm going to introduce to you in another video. But this is going to help you so much in your walk with the Lord because it's going to help you put together things, a lot of things in your life. I have found that for most Christians, especially those Christians that are raised in church, their walk with the Lord is a little vague. When were you saved? Well, I don't know. I've always known Jesus. You know. What dramatic difference has God made in your life? Well, I've never used drugs, or I've always loved the Lord, you know. And then for those of us who've had a dramatic, life-changing experience, this is going to help you understand that the best parts weren't before you were saved, the best parts are after. And it's going to help you so much to put together the chapters of your life. Let's talk about spiritual markers. Spiritual markers are significant events in our lives. Experiences such as your salvation experience or your baptism, special words from God when you know maybe God spoke to you, special people that God has brought to you in your life, just events. Can I share with you, I want to share with you 10 of my spiritual markers. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time telling you my story, but I do want to let you hear my spiritual markers that might give you an example of some ways that you might be able to write the chapters of your life. Okay, my first spiritual marker was when I came to Christ. I came to Christ at the age of 7. And I'm going to save that experience for the next video, because in the next video, it's all about our personal testimony, and I'm going to tell you a lot about that then. I was actually called to the ministry when I was 14 years old at Camp Antioch. I never will forget that our pastor brought us to Camp Antioch in Cedartown, Georgia, every summer when I was growing up. And it was at a campfire service on Thursday night before we were headed back home on Friday that I felt God's call to ministry at 14. And believe it or not, I preached my first message that next Sunday. That was quite an experience. I was so scared to death, and I remember I had a yellow jacket flying around in my room in Georgia, back in Austell, Georgia, and it just so bugged me. I killed it. and then I practiced to that must be my message. And I think my first message was like 8 minutes long. But that was significant to me. Growing up in high school, I had a tremendous Christian coach. His name was Wayne Dubose. Coach Dubose just passed away not too long ago at the taping of this video. Tremendous man. He influenced me so much. Coach Dubose was not one of those Christian coaches that just didn't cuss. He was an example of Christ, and he took me to church with him. And I loved Coach Dubose. Of course, a big significant time in my life was when I got married on July 13th, 1980, at the age of 21. I just turned 21 when I got married. And boy, did I really learn a lot after that. Our children came along. Our 2 children came along when I was 25 to 27. I was present for both their births. And I'll tell you, birthing babies is tough on Daddy. It was tough on me. And of course, obviously, my wife. But my children, just so much of what God has taught me has been through my children and my failures as a parent. God did a tremendous healing job in my life when I was 34 years old. I was abused as a child at the age of 9. I'll just say that. And I experienced about 25 years of depression, although I was a pastor. But the healing that God did with me in 1994 just radicalized and changed my life and my ministry. In 2002, I went on 2 mission trips that really shaped the ministry that God's called me to now. And I was 42 years old. One was to Canada, and the other one was to the Prince of Wales Island. You'll hear more about that in future videos as well. The 8th thing is we moved to Idaho. We're originally from, I'm originally from Austell, Georgia. And I lived there most of my life. But at the age of 49, God moved us to Idaho. And that was a weird thing, moving from Georgia to Idaho. But you know what? It's been the best thing that's happened to me and my family. Me, my wife Cindy, and our 2 adult children moved with us. And they married Coeur d'Alene kids, and now we're starting to have grandbabies. And so we're just kind of stuck in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, but we kind of like being stuck out here. The next big thing, I'm just going to share 10 with you, but the 9th one is starting Freedom Fellowship. When I was 55 years old, I started a church. And God did that, and it's just the most wonderful group of people. One of them back here is Chris Siebers, who's filming this, and who very quietly sits back there and does such a good job at filming and editing these videos. But starting Freedom Fellowship was a big, big moment in our life. And then number 10, finally, the one I want to share with you is our vision is now being realized at the age of 57. It's amazing all the pieces that God is bringing together of all these spiritual markers in my life that's enabling me to see that He's really working. So I want you to take a moment to write down some of your spiritual markers and share them with your mentor this week. You know, your story is important. It's important to the gospel because you know what your story is? It's the gospel according to you. It's your account on how Christ is using you, saved you, using you to accomplish what He's doing in the world. I really hope you'll take the time to do this seriously. And no, you may not get finished in a week. You may not get finished in the 6 weeks. You know, because I've been adding to the story. God's been adding to the story. But I hope and pray that you have a great time with your mentor this week. And I look forward to seeing you next week as we'll begin to take a look at that time that you were saved, and we'll tell you how you can, in 4 steps, that you can tell someone how Christ touched your life at salvation. Hey, have a great week. Take care and God bless.